Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Tower of Insight. So, while looking at just the whole layout of this game, it really revealed a lot more puzzles than is really reasonable, because each of these categories for each of the 5 regions has several subtypes of puzzles, and each of those have an all-time percentage with specific finite numbers that are into the hundreds. So you're talking tons of puzzles in the overworlds, in the main sections, that you can't even really do, like, not all at once. You're going to have to play the game almost to full completion, where there's just no puzzles in any of these overworlds at all, and then come back 6 to 12 hours later and have puzzles cycle back in and unlock. So it could be months, years even, to actually get to the 10,000 plus puzzles, even if you were speedrunning it. And that really does completely eliminate the possibility of a 100% speedrun. Now, doing all the enclaves and finishing the main story is something I think you could probably speedrun pretty well, since you're only really limited by mirror blisses, which I need a few more mirror blisses to unlock this highest viewpoint, and I want to do that before I go to the Flame of Enlightenment, which is the next storyline spot. Although we may just jump to the Flame of Enlightenment and see how the end of what I imagine is the main story of the game goes. I imagine it's not much. I imagine it's just like the rest of these enclaves. There's the Flame of Enlightenment as we go past it, where we are going to find that there is simply yeah, I imagine we'll find it's not much of anything. We'll just get some storyline stuff, I bet, and that's it. Here we have a music one. I tried to do a music one. And I think you can get a bonus if you only listen to it once, but that's not going to work for me. So let's just do that. Just wow. So I think immediately the problem here is that there's just going to be multiple things. And I'm going to struggle with those. Meanwhile, something like this is going to be something less, that is going to be less of a struggle. So I should just engage with this. As much as possible. Suppose that might be the move. Well, that didn't do anything either. Is there a bigger trick to all of this? Is there a way that this piece ever gets out of the way? Need this piece out of the way. Is this impossible to solve? I don't think so. Be weird for the game to give me an impossible to solve puzzle so early. Let's just restart here. Maybe there's just a clockwise motion here that needs to be engaged with more. I don't see how. I guess that must be it. Although then what's the next step? At that point I need to swap these two pieces. Is there a possible way to do that? That was a lot of work to get to that point. I think I'm actually really close. Hmm. And then engaging with another math music puzzle. I think I'm going to show a great example here of just the real issues here. And this is going to take forever. We are going to end up having to do something like that, and then that, and that. That gets us to that spot. That actually won't help us any. I think actually it's the other way around, isn't it? I need to clear out all these blocker ones. So then I could do this. So then I could do this. I think probably to do that. Possibly to do that. Okay. Does that let me do anything though? I don't think that's helping any by doing that. I don't see how you solve this puzzle at all, actually. So you get all of this where you want it. And that gets you that far. Or you do that. Then you can move that over and you can do absolutely nothing. Let's just reset the puzzle as it was. Putting one here, putting one here, let you move it that far, and that does seem like that is a little bit of progress. The question then is how do we get rid of the blue one, which I think is what we have to do. So we have to get rid of this blue one. In some way. do that pattern. And then maybe do this pattern. Question is then, how can we get rid of the blue one permanently, though? Was there possibly a way to stick it up there? There's no way the blue one's going over to the left side here and out. So I can move things around. Then I can't move that. And doing that much won't help you in any way. Guess maybe there's a trick here. In that there's just enough room for this. And then you could do that. And you could put that up there. And you could do that. Of course, that stops you at that point. So what I needed to have done is not stick the blue there. I needed to have swapped it. Which, how did I do that before? By just bringing this one degree faster this way, further that way. But if I am going to pull that off, I need this out of the way too. that possibly good enough? Probably not. Oh, I had this. Or at least I'd made a lot more progress. Let's see. Meanwhile, we're gonna really highlight our kind of hate for music and my inability for music. By just cheating with foresights. Yep, I don't see any way you'd possibly be able to solve any of this. In fact, so much so, I'm just gonna start with a foresight telling me where to go. That probably does tell me something though, that none of these are used. And that eliminates, I think, a decent amount there. In that I'm pretty sure all of these are white. Otherwise, why would it tell me that that is the first step and that this is the next step? But if there are 2 or 3 notes per column, having a full foresight's not even going to be that useful. I'm gonna go ahead and guess that those are right. Then back to this puzzle. Yeah, I could jump around. Nothing's stopping me from doing that. I'd have to assume one has to be here. So the rest of that can be that way. There we go. Now we have to figure out the rest of this. Can't really do anything. That really can't do anything. It'd have to be here. And then we'd have to move back. We could do that. So we're looking for something like this, and then we're looking for something like that. That way. This loads up in that way as such. Then I can't move that any further. And I don't see a reason why you'd bring in a secondary item like that. Yeah, that seems pretty pointless. Just restart the whole puzzle because we really haven't made any progress at all. And having just like one extra. This can't possibly be the trick, can it? Yep. What did that accomplish? Nothing at all. Yeah, everything seems to imply you want to free at least that many pieces. Maybe you want to move that way. Then you've got to free those two pieces. Then you're not really accomplishing anything unless you free those two pieces. But unless you somehow do some other step where this is freed and this is freed, I don't know what the next step here is. And I guess if that was freed and this was freed, you can move something more. That is going to leave me with an extra piece. Guess that moved everything slightly one to the left. Okay. What would be the next step then? How could we move this one more to the left, to the right, while these were out of the way? Because that's our goal. So we want to be able to move this one to the right. Which really just gets back to getting rid of this extra piece. These levels are high level difficulty, so they're And that tempo is way too high. Way too high for me to possibly save this. It's no surprise that there aren't that many of these. Unless there was a visual element to these. Yeah, there's a whole bunch more. That's almost certainly the right pattern, but there's also extra notes. Obly the First, should I want to return? The known realm is my home now. Your path is yours to choose, says the oil. Where you find belonging is where your journey lies. You know that we'll always have a home here for as long as I still live. It's weird for God to say for as long as they shall live, but inherently, definition of a God has been expanded quite a bit when you are talking like Christianity, Judeo-Christianity compared to like Greek mythos or pre-Judeo-Christianity times. Let's just try this one, and this looks like this is a lot, but actually it's probably mostly just all about finding where one can find some wiggle room. Yeah, if one cannot wiggle, then one knows that's not the right path. And so we're going to probably use up all of these individual pieces as a way of finding the room. This one's probably never going to move. This one can move, but wouldn't help me. Was there a possibility of this moving? That moving back that much does allow that to move. Intriguing. That allows that to move, and that to move, and then that frees an area. Not freeing quite enough of an area. Come over here. Freeze that enough to do that. Slide that back that way. Put that out of the way. Maybe move that out of the way. I can move there. Although I don't think that helps much. Let's see, if this moved here, would that help any? I suspect we're very close. Just gotta figure out a little bit more. What if we would have put that there? that does move it around enough. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a lot of a challenge there. Try my best on guessing, and that led to nothing helpful. Still trying to also find the sites here, so a lot of these areas are also pretty small. Like, you're really not going to do the sightseeing thing until you've been in an area, and I'm now just recognizing after hearing a bunch of sound effects that there are hidden cubes everywhere. I think most players might struggle with the audio puzzles. I'm very glad that there's so few of them. So this is an area where, wow, talk about huge. I don't even see, I don't for a second foresee myself actually spending any extra large amounts of effort in this section. I think it'll be get it and get out. So I have to basically do a jigsaw puzzle here. If one is to assume that it takes up the entirety of the space, or almost the entirety of the space, that is going to limit us somewhat. Although there is no real top right one. Probably the center's one. There's no rotating ones. It is possible that this is just straight up a joke, too. And there are multiple solutions here to squeeze it all in. And from the looks of it, doesn't feel like game is gonna be too picky. Okay, it is gonna be picky. Play this then. Are all of these the same width? No, they're not. I don't think for a second this was actually supposed to be very difficult to get the pieces where they're supposed to be. That and that. See, that one is smaller than the rest of them. So that's probably a decent fit there. That shoots one off. That would fit there, and that would fit there. Then that one's too much, and that one's too much. And that one fits. Okay. Bring this down so we can move this around. I can't help but feel like this was an easier puzzle than okay. It may be an easier puzzle than it really seems like it is. Maybe. Maybe not. Could do something like that. It's this one piece. Seems to be the real problem. That lines up, I think, better. Okay. So weirdly, it's like if you were to make a jigsaw puzzle, hoping none of the pieces actually gave you any hints as to how to solve it. Well, that's a odd twist. Not something that I think is also going to be particularly useful. It does seem to me like these foresights may just be random. There, I think I placed exactly one without cheating. I guess meanwhile we can listen for hidden cubes and look for hidden cubes. I do think this is probably a fairly poor balance of... It's a small island too. It's just a poor balance of different types of puzzles that you've got. This would have to really be a more difficult set of puzzles, one that was completely different. So if they had given me rhythm puzzles and then a bunch of really difficult logic puzzles, I think I'd appreciate that more. I may straight up have to just leave this whole area. And this is just, I think it's called the Tower of Hanoi puzzle. The story goes that some monks were concerned about the world ending, and the master of those monks told them to just move stones or discs from one to the other, with the smaller stones always stacking on top of the others, which creates a recursive situation that will, with every piece, require even more steps. But yeah, it's at low levels, it's a baby's toy, literally given to babies. It's really just a matter of figuring out how much room they've given you. So that you can move things around. It is, I suppose, a proper time rate waster. Which will, I suppose, help with that will help with solving the lack of hints that a massive amount of hints I'm going to need. And this is slightly different in that you don't usually have a blocker piece taking up one of the spots, which is complicating this. We want to get this piece here before we do the next step. And so there might be a slight difference here in that I need to get everything lined up just perfectly. This, I guess, is the only option. But this isn't doing anything either. If this was here, and this was here, that does absolutely nothing. You can't move this outer ring at all. The move is to do this, which looks like it's not making any progress. I believe actually is. Didn't do that. This is negative progress we're making now. Hmm. Definitely, once you start cheating in any game, you cross a line where it just is going to get easier and easier to cheat in games. And the foresight timer here is going to only stop me so much. Okay. In this, I can move that to that spot, and that to that spot. But this piece here is almost certainly never moving. So, if I move that to that spot, does that help me in any way? It gives me some free room to try and move some stuff around, like this. Okay. Then you do that, and that, and that, and that. Okay. So then what would be the next bit of this? Do something like that. Still doesn't really change anything. But then when you get to this spot, I guess it does change something. Maybe. I need to figure out a way. And that's just never going to do anything. Do that. Maybe that? Am I really accomplishing anything though, doing this? Because this isn't moving enough that I could get anything below it. What I need is for this piece here, swap positions with this piece. But if I bring that piece out, then it's still the same situation. I did make some level of progress by getting it up to that point, and I did that by doing that and that. Okay. Then we did something fancy at some point to bring that down to that. That, and that. Is there possibly some wiggle room here? That I'm not seeing? if I was to move that there, does that possibly change things? I'll see how this changes things for the better. Yeah, I just don't see another thing you can move. This really does feel like you just have to fiddle with these pieces. Oh, I see what we could do. We could do this, 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 and this. We could shift that up. That would give us room for one there. Okay, now what? At that point, you would never be able to put the gold there. You'd have to have just two back here for that to matter. In shifting everything up in that way, have I changed anything at all? No, I don't think so. Putting it here or here feels just about the same. What if we shifted everything up one at this spot? So, like that. Does that open up any realm of possibility? Yes, it does. It allows me to then rotate everything. Good, because that was feeling impossible. You can pretty well tell too that there needed to be real hard limits to this. Yeah, particularly if you were going to try and make a mobile game version of this, this is just not going to fly. There would be so much dragging the screen to pan to try and fill this in, or the squares would be so small that you couldn't possibly click on them on an average size cell phone monitor. I'm also in a bad position now where this game cannot be closed. Now I will give it credit in that I have not actually seen it crash. It has just gotten the character stuck in the ground 3 times, but definitely would trade getting stuck in the ground and having an I'm stuck button over actual crashing. Interesting, you have a reflection here. Like there's 2 spots available, even though you only really need 1. This piece here is clearly never going to move. And this may very well be similar to the Tower of Hanoi puzzle. Although, more simplistic version of it. Getting cubes all over the place. I may very well have to just leave this enclave. Like, we'll see what we can do, but I may just have to leave this area and go do trials or something else. I just can't imagine myself knowing my own limitations, knowing that I am just not good at rhythm, and I have no rhythm myself to speak of. Yeah, it's not good content to make, to sit here and try and brute force this. I don't think I'd be 100% alone in that either. Sure, I might be a really good example of people who have no rhythm, or can't keep a beat, can't keep a tune, but not the only one, certainly. Yeah, inherently we're gonna have to squeeze everything in here, so it's gotta be a perfect fit. So I need to figure out a way to get a piece over here first. There's no point in even moving this. The gold visual here is a nice visual, but it's totally wrong for the actual goal of trying to be visually readable. Very rarely do you have shiny gold. I imagine that is also putting quite the demands on my graphics card for no good reason. I suppose that might be possibly it. No, because I can't even do anything then. This piece here is never going to cross this piece. There's not enough room. So it is just a matter of getting this piece to get behind that piece. Can we do that? Well, I guess you can do that. And you can do that. And that gives us just enough room to do that. Get that back that way. And then we are approaching success now. Yep, exactly the right number of spaces. Which does pretty much tell me that the spot here has to be touched upon so that this can be down there. Gotta get this to cross that. That's gonna be a hassle. That and that And that almost seem right, but obviously that's not right. That also won't work. Maybe this is in the wrong spot. Yeah, that is a possibility. I don't see any reason that you need this bright white blindingness happening. That's one short. That would be one short. That would be two short. That's not going to work either. I think all of this is right, but I am fairly bemused by what the next steps of these are. I don't even really see how to undo what I did. I mean, that seems nice. That wouldn't really work. Well, at least it wouldn't work without that doing that. See, that almost seems perfect, except for those pieces don't fit. But wait a minute. What if we were to... Could this have been the mistake here? Way over here. That we need to move this out. No, because this would never cross with this. We said that before. And so this piece and this piece kind of tie it all together. If we were to shift everything up this way. And if I was to do that, would there ever be a scenario that this one really is the spoiler? I think maybe my rigidness to keeping this in the same spot is probably wrong. Is there a possibility any other way? Putting any other piece here? Meanwhile, let's just pick one of these and use all of foresights in. It's kind of pointless to even listen to them. You know, make some guesses while I'm at it. This is a great example of where hidden cubes would be much more useful. Also, let's just move around. Let's just keep momentum by jumping around like crazy. Yeah, it'd be way more helpful if hidden cubes immediately refilled all of your foresights. Maybe there is a case here where the game, if we take it to the path to enlightenment, we will just get infinite hints and foresights, and then you can see the game becoming more manageable because of that. This is going to be all about maneuvering things, I'm sure. But I guess the question is, how much can one really maneuver things? How much does one actually need to maneuver things? This piece here isn't going to play any role past that point. Can't move any of that. Can't move any of that. Move that. Slightly off. Which I bet is a trick to that. Maybe just move everything down like that. Do all of that. Yeah, I may not even get, since it solved 7 music puzzles and I'm not getting a single one right. Not even listening to it. Yeah. Probably not going to be able to finish this area. And this might be where a warp point would prove to be very helpful, in the sense that if there was a teleporting warp point back to this area, and then I ran to the mainland and solved some puzzles and then warped back, that could be incredibly helpful. So about half of this puzzle seems like it's not even going to really matter if I can get past where we are now. Maybe the move is to find a little bit more room. Well, that looks like progress. It feels like progress. I don't know if really it is. Am I just going in circles though? It's a valid question, certainly, to ask. Yeah, this could be a case where you are just slowly manipulating things up and away. Is that helping anything? Not helping anything. Is it possible that I need to move? Yeah, it seems to me like moving one piece out of this whole mess. Just one more up here somewhere. Would be a very helpful part of the solution. It also seems to me like if I could just perfectly fill in all the pieces around the edges here, that would probably be very helpful. This spot and this spot could only be filled in with a certain type of puzzle. It would have to be that one, and even at that, so filling that in would be difficult. I had really hoped that we wouldn't have run into any more musical puzzles. But in fairness, I guess we really haven't run into too many anyways. I'm just gonna have to walk around this entire island a couple times. there's really only one thing I can do. Let's see. Put that there, and that's there. That's not gonna help. That's there, and that there is not really gonna help. I don't see how this piece ever gets past this piece. I don't see really how this piece gets past that piece. Let's see if this changes anything. We're doing that. No. Is there a way we could get this piece out of the way? And this piece here. What I could do is move that there. Not sure what the next step on all of that was. Okay. We may have it. The solution there, I guess, just felt a lot less awkward than just walk around looking for hidden cubes. That'll at least give me something interesting to do. Find 13 hidden objects. Gives us a Marvelous. That's one of the bonus things. Solve sightseers. We haven't done any of those. Feel like there might be something down here. So we're looking for a wall with some vines on it. That's a small enough area. Yeah, there's this underlying beat on this. And I can get like maybe one starting note. And that's about it. Man, I'm just so bad at music. That's why I don't play rhythm games. Or music games in general. So many hidden cubes making sounds. You'd think you'd want more silence in a musical area, but maybe it doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, when you're in here, in this section, you're definitely hearing the noise. Okay. We're gonna need probably to just pour out all of these smaller, more flexible pieces. But honestly, that only goes to that certain distance, and then push one over that way, I guess, and that way, and then you can do that. And that only helps you that far. Still, you don't have any real vertical dots. To do that, that's going to be in the way later. It would be my general desire to just get that into that spot, and then the hope would be that that would lead towards a new path. But it's more complicated than that, isn't it? We've got to get this like way up here or over here. One of those possibilities. Maybe that's the right move. I question it though, because you're just not going to be able to do anything more from that spot. I think more likely this is the move. Which is more to say, this is the move. That doesn't help any. Guess that could have helped some. Where would we put this though? I would eventually need to get this out of the way, don't I? So it might very well save me some frustration if I thought about that right now. That only gets me that far. And then there's nothing else I can move. Finally. So that's number 2 of 7 that would need to be solved. And yeah, I know these are different levels of difficulty, but to me they might as well all just have infinite difficulty set, because that's all it really means to me. It's just beyond a level of skill that I know I would ever be able to develop. And as a gamer, I can develop a lot of skills, but when your physical ears, and I assume that is the case for me, just don't recognize a difference, or if your physical brain doesn't recognize a difference, take your pick. I don't know if there's any kind of way in which you can really overcome that. And I would also fully admit that there's a certain level of frustration that I've always had in my life around that, and that if you don't pick something up early in childhood, that children can potentially subconsciously even self-traumatize themselves to the point that they'll never bother to learn something, and at a certain point a lot of people just say, I can't learn it, and then usually what happens is kids just learn to cheat or lie about their abilities after that point. I do think people are different enough that I wouldn't be surprised if there is a higher percentage than most people would want to admit they can't learn things. One of the shocking statistics is just how many people are functionally illiterate or actually illiterate and can't read. How many adult people are like that in this day and age. With the age of the internet, which may at this point be beginning to wane, though you get text and emails and things like that, there's some level of reading. Now, arguably a lot of leet speak and text and all of that is a little bit more nonsense than proper spelling, but if you can't sound out words, you can't figure out what's getting me about this one in particular is I just don't see where this piece is going to be while this piece gets past it. So what it must be, if I was to guess, is that you put something like this here, and then you get rid of this one in the middle, and then that would give you enough room where you could just kind of constantly nudge things up. Yeah, you can kind of treat these all as one if you could get rid of this one and this one. So what do I do to see that happen? How can we get this across that barrier? You have to have the middle section. That's the trick. Middle section will do everything for you. Now, how do we get this out of the way? Next, I think you probably just have to solve the rest of the Towers of Hanoi puzzle. There is a very good argument to be made here that what I should do is only solve these puzzles, because there's a decent chance I'll solve them for the rest of this episode, and then just sit off screen allowing the foresights to refill. I wonder if there was anything different here had I just done that. So I don't understand why sometimes I can do this and sometimes I cannot. They seem to be the exact same width. So why is the middle any different than the left side? just get this piece past that piece, we'd be perfect. How do we do that? These pop-up hints are still poorly positioned. Continue to look for hidden cubes. For as noisy as they are far too noisy. Sure aren't easy to find. Again, a big part of that is the 3D audio elements here that are just not existent. Where in another game you would expect that the audio would point you. You'd hear something on the left and that would be where the hidden cube is. And those are hidden cubes we're hearing. It's not something else. Shifting in phase. Don't know how I'm supposed to hit that ring. Controls here are still incredibly wonky, while the gliding part is easy. So this should be a relatively small area, so I should be able to find a section like this. Closest section I've seen felt like this. Yeah, that's it. There we go. Might as well just do the sights here. Puzzles. This one is pretty obvious. Maybe downward looking. Not on that statue. I think over in this area. I wouldn't call these particularly great puzzles in A, that are not really puzzles, as much as they are just a different way of applying, I guess, memory tests on people. Which, yeah. I wouldn't say memorization falls under the category of logic, and I would say puzzles require logic to be solved. That seems like a fairly reasonable definition. There's one. Hanging in the tree like a leaf may be an indicator of where the rest of these are. Okay. We're looking for a square window area. I don't recall seeing something like that. Yeah, it's probably over here. Somewhat, but on the other side. Yep. We get all these sightseeing things done, and that'll at least let us focus in on all the things we can't do. Is there another one hanging up in a tree? And I guess the sightseeing puzzles are probably pretty good balancers for other kinds of puzzles that would be more difficult and perhaps more action focused. They're not enough in this case, considering how frustrating this is for me. Do these music puzzles, or inherently not do the music puzzles and then instead just fail at them miserably and admit defeat. Cheat my way through it. Our sights here. I mean, that is it. But that angle is weird. Well, maybe that isn't it. It looks like it, but no, it wasn't. Without doing all of the main puzzles, though, the music grids, I also have no chance of really knowing how many puzzles would be here, because it's not going to unlock the count until you do both the basic challenge and the higher difficulty bonus challenge. Although, higher difficulty bonus challenge might be a bad way of describing it, because I'm not sure the bonus challenges are consistently more difficult than the main challenge. I'd definitely say in this case an argument is ready to be made. Okay, back to this one. I don't see a reason to reset. If we could get this one to go past that one, that would totally be wrong. Could do that. Then that and that are wrong. So perhaps it is maybe it's more of a case that this should be here, that should be there. No, that can't be right. This piece needs to be down here. It feels like that's the only place it fits. Then there is some kind of pattern here. And that needs to be on that. That doesn't seem like that fits either. And that can't be right. So I think I need to reevaluate what I've assumed was correct here, which is that and that should be there instead of perhaps something a bit sneakier. I think you're going to have to get that spot at some point, but I'm thinking maybe this piece pulls out. First things first, that was just to get everything to line up. So we need to twist this piece into fitting into that. How can we do that? Your thought would be to do that. Then that really leaves me with all the wrong pieces. So my next thought would be to move this so that that maybe gets under that. Is that possible? Can we pull that off? If that got under there, that would fit there. That could fit there. That can't really fit there. We'd have to get this over on this side. Would it make any sense to do this? That certainly rearranges things. It feels like that may have put us in a better position. Particularly now that I have two one pieces. So, yeah. Feels like I could just move one this way, one this way. That is it. So I guess that is a testament to stepping away from certain puzzles for a while and coming back to them. Although that's pretty well known. All my foresights here literally just gonna go towards putting in the we have at least one more sights here puzzle. Probably some hidden cubes. Probably says we've done 7 shifting mosaics. I'm fairly certain there's a few more shifting mosaics around. Yeah. Just start over again. This time we'll start with a different goal, which is to build out the path first. If we build out the path first, the thought is that we'd be able to figure it out recursively. Yeah, and I imagine doing that is totally the right move. But maybe not. Am I just making things difficult for myself here? Feels like I might be accomplishing something. Not sure I really am. I can't go up any higher, though. So a lot of these pieces really aren't going to be involved too much. Just gotta figure out how to get this to go up one more spot. Scrolled right past it. I don't know how even a normal person would have been able to figure that one out. Yes, the sounds are different to a certain extent. It's not just the exact same sounds or very similar sounds. They're having us look through the ceiling at a certain angle. And see, that said solve all 5 sightseers. Find 13 hidden objects. It just says find 13. It doesn't say there is 13. And then it says solve all 13 of the shifting mosaics. And I've done 7, so there's 6 more shifting mosaics I haven't done. We even tried this one? Yeah, we did. We made it that far. Yeah, let's just start over. That seems like that would be the first step. And it seems like at some point you gotta get this piece to mate with this piece. But even if you did that, it still wouldn't leave a wide enough gap for the square to get past. So we need this piece to be at least 2 above or below, well, 2 above that piece. Shouldn't really have restarted there. We need this to go up. Is there a way we can make this go up? We can do that. We can do that. That. And that's the only way we're going to get any kind of flexibility in this to start with. I think what we'll end up doing is, yeah, this piece needs to go down at some point, but maybe not yet. Yeah. Because right now, if I was to move this piece downward, I don't think it would give me enough room. Yeah. It wouldn't. So guess the idea here is to do this. Okay. And then I guess the idea is probably to do this. And then this is going to be a lot of maneuvering things. Just now we have it wide enough that a 2x2 block would fit there. And that's really just the beginning of what we need to do. We also need this out of the way, and we're also going to need to swap these two. And I don't see how we could have done that so far. That would go there. That would go there. Okay, that's not it. That's probably some of it. Is there perhaps a trick here? It's supposed to be like this. No, I think the trick is this. Okay, but I can't do that. Not yet. You don't really have enough room to make this the way I was thinking. And honestly, that's not the right way anyways. So it kind of feels like you do that and that would be the end of it. That's the entire tricky part of it. And then you should be able to do that. And from that, somehow, you should be able to accomplish something. But no such luck. Which means something more has to happen. And that these need to go probably here. Such as that. But that does nothing for you. Is there any possibility? Something else. You do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. Push that forward, you do that. You do that, you do that, you do that, you do that, you do that. Push that down. That doesn't help. Still have a hidden cube somewhere around here. Haven't even done this one. Honestly, at this point, it does feel like somebody is just playing kind of ridiculous riffs. That they're actively making things that would be near impossible to figure out. Of course, I'm sure there's somebody else out there that has a high level of musical ability and is just laughing at me due to my ineptitude on that. There's whatever the gimmick is on this one is almost certainly the exact same gimmick on the other one, on the opposite side. The physical closeness to them really implies that. Can't do anything with that, however. Can't do anything with that. We can do this. It definitely feels like I am kind of solving this a similar way. It's gonna be wrong, so we should get that out of the way or early. Just gonna find where we can find the extra flex room. Okay. Pretty great position here. Unfortunately, it's not the right perfect position. Is this gonna be enough? No. What if we were to open it up by doing that and then putting 3 in the middle and then doing that? Okay. Still not enough. Something I fundamentally have done here. It's not giving me enough room to move this down one. Could move this here, could move this here. So if we were to do that, that opens up room for a square to be there. If I could get the square to be there. Move this here. This here. That does leave enough room for something like that to happen. What would the next step be, though? Am I just moving things around? Or am I actually making some progress? I think I am making progress here. Perhaps not enough. And that's gotta be something. That has gotta mean something. If I was to move this over here, yeah, this is giving me enough flexibility to move everything around to finally get to it. Wow. That was a lot. But even doing all of that, you can see floor sites are just not refilling fast enough. The question to ask certainly is, what's the number of shifting mosaics left? We have one here. We have one here. So we want this to go here. That is our, I think, first goal. To accomplish that first goal, we need to make as much room as possible. See, if I solve this in an incredibly short amount of time, I think I'm gonna have room to be disappointed with myself. Wow. Unless this starts to give me a real challenge. Yeah, which it is. Yeah, I was thinking for a second there I was going to solve it in way too little of an amount of time and effectively show that it actually isn't that hard to solve. So I'm appreciating a slight challenge here, although frankly I would trade a little bit of an embarrassment for just solving it. And yeah, that was kind of embarrassing on how easy that was. I've been all over this place. How can they be so well hidden, these hidden cubes? Well, I saw a hidden ring, but the hidden rings don't make sounds. I really have to question what is the value of locking the music grid puzzles behind an enclave, because that just slows down how often you might encounter them, bundling up the frustration, or the challenge at least, all at once. If anything, it would be my instinct to unlock the music puzzles fairly early in the game, or not even unlock them. I would just have them unlocked from the beginning, but I would introduce the player to them by making some be around early, and then I would warn players to just skip them. If you're having any problem, you can come back later. There's 10,000 plus puzzles in this game. That's what it's selling itself as, so still haven't solved this one. And there's only one other mosaic in this whole area, so let's find that other shifting mosaic. I hear of one hidden cube. There's possibly hidden rings. Yeah, almost certainly. One or two other things. And that's pretty much just going to be the end of this episode and the end of this enclave for me. I don't even think it's really worth my time to play off screen, because inherently what it's going to be is way too much time sitting around. Yep. If there was a walkthrough that I knew of, I would just use that and put in all the solutions and just cheat much more efficiently. Let's get on the ground and experience the area from the lower perspective. Yeah, I would much prefer to have a variety of puzzles and run around the overworld. Maybe if I get the teleportation ability, I would just warp at that point back to this area every time I had 5 foresights. Although inherently, unless the game is willing to give you infinite foresights, there's always going to be other places where having a foresight ready and available is going to be more useful. Yeah, even trying to guess a little bit is not helping. been all over this area. Where are you, invisible cube? Wow. It's smaller than most. This is the one that's still driving me batty. And did we solve this one? Yes. So there's one more we've either seen and then abandoned that I just don't remember, or there's one we haven't seen at all. I've been around enough that I would believe that there actually aren't any more hidden cubes. It's believable that there wouldn't be any more hidden rings, which really then limits you down to just doing the music sections. Solve that one. Doesn't really benefit me greatly. And what's funny is you get on the bottom of this area and you look upward and you see like a moon in the sky. But there is no, it is clipping through and it's invisible. So they made a literal sightseer quest that has a visual glitch in it. Is that intentional? Is that playing towards the thought that this is some kind of simulation? Who knows? Or is it just a case that this game was made by people who were rushing to make 10,000 puzzles plus over 10,000 puzzles, and as such couldn't possibly be that thorough? But that could also just be a mystery. Although, how do you reveal that you recognized it as a mystery if that was the case? A lot of these gates do look like you should just fly off through them, or that they should lead you somewhere else. And very rarely have I found anything useful by flying around. Is there possibly a puzzle on the walls? Or maybe a puzzle on the floor somewhere. They tend to be pretty bundled up. Okay, made a decent amount of progress. Each one of these has enough room for the previous one. We need this in the middle so this can pass that. obviously what you would want here is a bumping mechanic where when one object bumps into another object that could be dragged along, it should just automatically drag it along. Unfortunately, I do think this implies we are going to have to build the entire tower. Yep. Now that actually won't take that long. There's a consistent theme around this game. It's becoming pretty obvious in that it is an extreme in numbers mentality when less is more mentalities would have probably been very helpful. This is a great example where you very possibly could have just had one fewer rings, and that would have saved a lot of time. We're almost there. That to that spot to put that in that spot to do that, and we don't have to leave it finished. If anything, thematically to the Tower of Hanoi, leaving it unfinished is the point. Okay, so there is one more mosaic somewhere. Where have I not been? You keep going in the same spots. Oh, I guess this one hasn't been solved. Okay, well, let's just restart this and see if there is anything we've learned in solving all the other puzzles up until this point. Still seems like the move would be to do that. Is there a possibility that the move is to not go too far? No, because we've got to clear that to then move either direction. Maybe this is the trick. Okay. Let's experiment with that. put one here. Then you do that. Then you put these three here. Then you put this here. And then for what feels like the first time, we've split that in some way. Okay. Now what do we do? Okay. Now what do we do? Guess that gets us up to that spot. I'll be darned if that's not going to do it. So I figured it out. Now, did I figure it out because I did any of the other shifting mosaics? No, not really. We have now solved 57 out of 100 puzzles towards our quest. So yeah, that's as much as I can do for this enclave. I can come back and do the enclave further later, obviously, at any point, but well, it seems like at any point at least, but it is way worth my time. It would be too much of a waste of time, that's what I mean to say, to stay in between the episodes and just wait for the hints to refill. Is there no jump pad to go back? From the looks of it, it doesn't look like there is. That the only jump pad to come back, to go back on, is the jump pad we arrived on. Okay. So yeah, it's just infinitely more wise to run around doing overworld puzzles instead. Different types of puzzles. What the game wants me to do is go here. What I want to do is go here. And that would require 3 more Mariblisses. There's 1 Maribliss here, 1 Maribliss here, and 1 Maribliss there. So if I do the ground way, trial, which where's the trial? Must be under here. Ground away current events. Okay. So doing each of these Tower of Insights alone might give me a Mare of Bliss too. So yeah. I want to do the highest viewpoint first, even though it probably is going to be a very difficult one. And then I guess if I do this ground away trial, that's weird. It says do one more trial as a side quest, but there's a trial here I haven't done and a trial here I haven't done. So there's at least one extra trial, I suspect, in each area on top of the side quests, which maybe means there will be a bunch more trials that appear. I doubt it, but maybe. Yeah. Regardless, I guess our goal is to get Mare of Blisses, to finish and look at this enclave before we start to think about going here, which we could do that. We would need to find 3 mysteries to do that enclave. After that point, we would need 5 mysteries to do that enclave. So if the goal was just generally to solve all of the enclaves, a lot more work still is going to be required. Yeah. But we are very, very close to really never needing to go back to the enclaves if we've 100% of the enclaves, which is questionable whether it's really necessary to 100% all the enclaves. It's just going to come down to, is your final mystery going to be collect all of the Mare of Blisses in the world? Is that going to be your final goal? At a certain point, looking for Pillars of Insight still makes a lot of sense after doing as many enclaves as we can. Doing trials makes sense because that does all feel like that is more polished, bespoke elements. It'd be better if I was looking at the right section. Getting all the lore fragments makes a lot of sense. We have 2,000 sparks and nothing to spend them on, unless I was just going to go out of my way to try and purchase sparks. And I think at this point there's very little reason to even go back and look at any of this. Particularly customization is still totally pointless. Yep. So that's going to be it for this episode. Apologies again for the massive struggle on the music puzzles. And it does seem like in this area in particular I end up being in shadow a lot more than in the other sections, which makes the character seem a little dark. Anyways, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and keep on watching. Thanks.